Kia ora koutou katoa nau mai hara mai ki te Ao Hākinakina, your sports show right here on your Tribal Pulse, Te Korimako o Taranaki, 94.8 FM and 98.4 FM. Well, he's a proud Gommeroi man and one of the most respected coaches in rugby league from his early days playing for the Woodberry Warriors to guiding the Newcastle Knights NRLW team to back-to-back premierships and now taking on the role as head coach of New Zealand Warriors NRLW side. His journey is inspiring, whānau. He's not only a leader on the field, but also an advocate for Indigenous participation in sports. And we're excited to hear about his life, his coaching philosophies, and the challenges and triumphs that have shaped his career. No mai, hara mai, Ron Griffiths. Good to have you on the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Caps. I appreciate it. That was you've certainly done your homework. Great work, brother. The old Woodberry Warriors, mate. That's a throwback, that one.
From one warrior to another, eh? There we go. Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, awesome to have you on the show, bro. Been really looking forward to catching up, and but we'll just kick off. Ko wai koe, no he koe, just a bit about yourself and where you're from.
Yeah, certainly. You mentioned I'm a Gommeroi man, and that's from out around Kaluas, Gunnedah. For anyone who's unsure where that is, it's like northwest New South Wales. So about 3 hours from Newcastle, where I was. That's where my family's from, Gunnedah, Kaluas. That's Gommeroi mob, but I was born and raised on Wabakal country in the Newcastle area. So I spent my whole life there.
Wow.
Yeah, and pretty much played rugby league there, and then cut my teeth coaching there, and just sort of moved around coaching in different areas and got an opportunity, and found myself in New Zealand at this point in time. The first time I've left the country to live, left anywhere to live other than Newcastle. So ended up in Auckland. Yeah, it's amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're stoked to have you here, mate. Now, can you share a bit about your childhood and how your Gommeroi heritage has influenced your love for rugby league?
Yeah, I think importantly, like for me, it's we can trace my lineage back to first contact. And for a lot of Aboriginal people, they're unsure who they are, where they're from because of the stolen generation. But for me, I was one of the blessed ones. So, and in terms of, how that, shaped things for rugby league, in Newcastle, there was a local Aboriginal rugby league team called the Newcastle All Blacks. And back then when Australia was a different country and racism was certainly, very rife, it was an opportunity for Aboriginal people to get together. And really work towards a common goal in terms of, Aboriginal rights, things like that. It was a real focal point, the club, the Rugby League club. And I think further to that, they talk about, closing the gap for Aboriginal people. And, for us, rugby league or sport in general is a real great conduit to do that. There's so many positive messages that we can push through it. But yeah, so I suppose my dad coached the Newcastle All Blacks, and I was, the lessons that I learnt back then as a young fella, just being a ball boy or around the sheds, just they've held me in good stead. And it's the things that I use to this day, the lessons that I learnt as a coach, the philosophy is moulded off that.
Wow, that's awesome. And who were some of those kind of key role models or mentors who kind of shaped your journey both culturally and in sport?
Yeah, I think uncles and aunties were really big. Particularly culturally. Some of them have been through ceremony, and so they understand culture, and they were able to teach us about that. But when it comes to sport and rugby league, there's probably no greater role model than my dad. The lessons that I learned, I still keep today, and the phrases that he used, they just stuck with me. Back then when I was a kid, like I would have been in and around the sheds when I was 3-4 years old, through to when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, he was still coaching, and those messages that I took on subliminally, I still use them today, and I didn't even realise I was learning then.
Wow, that's awesome. And what was it like starting out, with the Woodberry Warriors? Obviously, like you said, coming through as a kid, and how did those experiences kind of professional, set you up, prepare you for the professional level?
Yeah, I think one thing with for me, I always wanted to play rugby league at the highest level, and everything I did as a kid, that was what I was aiming towards. And unfortunately, things just didn't work out for me. And then by the time I was around 25, I'd started coaching. So from under 4 years of age through to 18 years of age playing at Woodberry, and just those lessons that I learned in rugby league and grinding and working hard, I held me in good stead for when I started to coach, and I understood the reasons that I couldn't make it. And I just, for me, it was about making sure that I could develop players to make it. That's the big thing for me. But yeah, I think just the love of the game was the biggest thing that I got from that club. Just, you know, camaraderie and relationships or friendships that you keep forever.
That's great. And you've obviously coached at grassroots level, but tell us about the Kuri Knockout. Now, we have our big Māori tournaments here in Aotearoa, and I know the Kuri Knockouts are, you know, it's a marked event in the calendar each year. What does that tournament mean to you, and what does that tournament do for the Aboriginal people?
Yeah, well, it's the largest gathering of First Nations people in the world. You know, that just the amount of people they have there in one spot, and we call it you know, for us, it's obviously a rugby league tournament. There's so much more to it, so many more layers. It's a you know, a real cultural event, or a real cultural gathering. And in terms of rugby league, and you know, when you're playing rugby league, the pinnacle is to play NRL, but for Aboriginal people, the pinnacle is to win a knockout. And when you coach, and that's when you get your real credibility as a coach. You know, if you can win a knockout as a coach, you know, people look at you and go, well, particularly as an Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander, man, they look at you and go, well, you're doing something right. So you get some real credibility out of that. But I think further to that, you know, it's a real opportunity for people to come together that don't see each other from across New South Wales and Queensland, and just, you know, reconnect and share their stories with what they've been doing for the, you know, the past 12 months. A real celebration of culture, as you know, with the Māori tournament, it's very similar.
100%. And you can see, I've watched a few of the knockouts, you know, some of those that have won those tournaments, the tears and the joy and the elation is just is absolutely beautiful. Well, stay with us, Barney. We're going to be back to talk with Ron shortly on about his journey with Newcastle and on to the Warriors. So make sure to stay tuned. Well, we're back, Mano. Welcome back to Te Ao Hākinakina, your sports show right here on your Tribal Pulse, Te Kori Mako o Taranaki. We're here with Ron Griffiths, had an awesome kōrero thus far about his upbringing with the Woodberry Warriors and out the back of Newcastle there. Now, speaking of Newcastle, how did it feel to lead the Newcastle Knights NRLW team to consecutive premierships in 2022 and 23?
Yeah, I think for me, like growing up in Newcastle, they weren't the team that I supported, but I always had a soft spot for them. You know, I was already indoctrinated to be a Tiger, a Balmain Tiger, well before then. So when they come into the competition, I love the Tigers, but Newcastle always had a soft spot for. I think going back there to coach, I understood what the town was made of, or what really resonated with the town. You know, so for me, it was about harnessing that. You know, what did the community want? You know, they wanted us to include them. They wanted to be a part of it, and they wanted us to be a hard-working, blue-collar team, because that's what the town's like. So, mate, to go back to back there, the first team to do it in Newcastle was just, you know, I think for me, the family are on the whole journey, you know, so that's something that we get to keep with us forever. So it was just a marvellous feeling.
And a massive achievement indeed. Now, coaching obviously comes with, you know, plenty of challenges. Like, what have been some of your toughest moments, and like, how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I think the toughest moment for me was actually getting my first opportunity as a professional coach. You know, for me, I was coaching a local league in Newcastle. I was coaching 3 or 4 different teams, like an under-17s Knights team, Aboriginal Rugby League team, then my son's team, and then a first grade team in Newcastle. And, you know, to get an opportunity as a professional coach, I actually had to travel to Sydney 1 day a week and give up my time, you know, just go down there and volunteer my time with the West Tigers. And that's how the opportunity came about. But further to that, at that point in time, there was no Aboriginal assistant coaches in the NRL. And the club said to me, you know, we see an opportunity here for you, but we don't have the money. So I had to go and find a sponsor to pay half my wage, and the club footed the other half, mate. You know, so for me, the challenge is creating opportunities for myself, but for the next generation of coaches coming through. So, you know, I was fortunate enough that my family, you know, they were Aboriginal activists, and, you know, the things that they did created opportunities for me and my siblings and my cousins. But now my job is to kick the door open for the next generation of coaches. And I understand that. That's why I went and found my opportunity. So that's probably the biggest challenge I've faced.
Wow, I love that. Well, what commitment. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. We had Russell Packer on here recently, and he mentioned he was down the Tigers when you were there. So good place to start.
He used to give me plenty too, Russ. He was good. He was always really honest with you, and
yeah,
I had a good relationship with him because I spent a fair bit of time over the back doing stuff with him, but he was good, mate. He was good for me, just a young coach coming through. He knew when to chip you and when to support you.
Awesome. Now, you obviously, the Indigenous All Stars means a lot to you. You've worked with, with them and with youth programs. Why is promoting Indigenous participation in rugby league so important to you, and what part does the All Stars play in that?
Well, I think one thing about the All Stars is it allows an opportunity for young kids to actually aspire for someone to aspire to be like those athletes. And I think the other thing it does for that moment in time when people watch the All Stars game, whether they're Māori or Indigenous, it takes them away from the struggles that they might be having in life. For that 80 minutes of the game, they can sit on the hill, spend their hard-earned money, and it might be the last they have in their pocket. But it just takes them away from anything that they could be facing in life at that point in time. And then I think the other thing further to that is as Aboriginal people or First Nations people, wherever you are, it's important that self-determination is a really big thing. I think that rugby league allows us the opportunity to do that, whether that's through, earning good money, playing representative football, and then being able to set your family up, or being a coach, or being a physio, different things like that. But showing these young kids there's a pathway out of where they are, and self-determination plays a really big part in it, or the All Stars plays a big part in helping these kids to achieve, self-determination.
Love that, and make sure to lock that into your calendar, whānau. Only a month away, actually. The All Stars are coming back here to the mighty Waikato, so looking forward to that game up there in Kirikiriroa. Now, make sure to stay tuned. We're going to go to another short break now and come back to speak about the mighty Warriors and the 2026 season on the horizon. Welcome back, whānau. We're here with Ron Griffiths talking about the Warriors now. Now you're the head coach for the New Zealand Warriors NRLW team. You had a great season last year, but what excites you most about this new chapter in 2026? And what are some of the learnings from 2025?
Yeah, we were really confident in 2025 that we'd have a great year. And I think one big positive for us was every second half we won pretty much. We finished home over the top of teams, And I thought the only thing that cost us at certain points in time was our experience, and we've now we've brought some experience on board, so that's really exciting. I think one thing that was positive this year was just the crowd support, the community support, our interaction with the community, how good that was. So yeah, the positives to look forward to are just, I think when those games are in the balance, that little bit of experience will hold us in good stead. And I think just a year on, we'll see another wave of support that comes on board and follows the team. Most definitely.
And how have you enjoyed your time so far here in Aotearoa? I know you're big on, supporting the clubs and getting out in the community. You really emphasise that in all that you do. How are you enjoying your time here?
I love it. I love it. I think one thing, it's just so, the culture here is fantastic. When you're in Australia, it's just, everything's open 24 hours a day and it's non-stop. I feel like in New Zealand, the work-life balance is perfect. And one thing is, grassroots rugby league is a fair way behind, from what I see. So for me, getting out and actually supporting it, I really love it. That's where I cut my teeth. And I think it's so important for the long-term sustainability of the Warriors to have success. They're good grassroots programs. But, mate, we couldn't be more impressed, me and the family, how much we've enjoyed our time over here and how beautiful the people and country are.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I know that the people of the community really appreciate the work that you do out with all those clubs and in the community. So awesome, mahi. Now, how do you balance building a team culture with the pressure to perform at the highest level? Obviously, those pressures that come with, high level footy, but keeping that culture strong. How do you balance that?
Yeah, I think you've got to have a real key philosophy around what you want to achieve. And for me, it's about developing the person. So if we can get the people right in terms of, developing them to be, good teammates, good community members, team first actions, things like that, the culture will take care of itself. And then the results will take care of themselves. And at the end of the day, if rugby league's about winning and losing, but it's also about making sure that we just leave our best out there every time. And if we can do that and hold our head up high, that's what we're chasing right there. But I think importantly, just making sure that you lead by example and set a great example. The players buy in, the players will follow that, and that creates your culture. Your results will come on the back of that, I believe.
Yeah, 100%. Well, looking forward to the 2026 season eagerly. Really looking forward to that kickoff. Now, looking back on your journey from a player to a coach, an advocate, a leader, what are you most proud of? What are you most proud of throughout your journey thus far, and what's next for Ron Griffiths?
I think I don't know if it's proud of, but I think something that I can hold dear to my heart forever and take with me is that I've had my family on the journey for the whole thing. They talk about rugby league being a professional environment, and you see NRL coaches, and I get it, but their family don't go on, they don't go with them on trips to away games or home, things like that. For me, wherever I've been, my family have been a part of it, and that's, something that I can keep with me forever. At the end of the day, when football's all said and done, no one will remember Ron Griffiths, the coach, but me and my family's have memories that'll last forever.
Love that, mate. Well, Ron, thank you for sharing your incredible journey with us, mate. Your story from, grassroots beginnings to premiership success, and your commitment to your people, to the First Nations people, to our people here of Aotearoa, shows the power and the passion and perseverance that you have. We wish you all the best as you lead our New Zealand Warriors NRLW team into an exciting future. And so from all of us here in Taranaki, thanks for coming on the show.
Yellow, thank you.